Tribe Builders. This is Tanya Rooney, and I'm super excited for today's guest. This is going to be a super fun conversation. So I met this gal, honestly, through Instagram, but she happens to be local. So I met her at an Invest Her meetup, which is a real estate meetup that we have in the Twin Cities that, women to get together and talk about real estate. Pretty self-explanatory. And we started connecting over Instagram, and we did a different podcast recording on her podcast. And then I just met this amazing gal that likes to bring people together and just preach a couple of really cool things that I believe in too when it comes to real estate and investing and having your own business. So without further ado, here is Rianna. Yes, Rianna Redig. Hi, how's it going?
It's so good. Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah. Okay, so tell the people, anybody that's listening, tell them what you got going on. Like what kind of businesses you built and just like what makes you awesome.
Yeah, so first thing that I have going on is a huge remodel of a commercial space. Ooh, talk about continuing to build and going outside of your comfort zones. Hopefully next week everything is going to be buttoned up, or like by the time that this podcast comes out, like at least the construction phase is going to be over. We are doing 22 office suites down in Rochester, Minnesota. Previously, it was I'm really bad at explaining it. It was like where you get your remote start put in, or if you want like subs in your car, stuff like that. So it's kind of like
a shop.
It was a car shop. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now we're turning it into office space. So that is the biggest like real estate project that I have going on right now. And then the other part is Invested and Rested. So I co-own a coaching company, and we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a podcast, we have a retreat coming up, we have a course coming up. So yeah, we have a lot going on there.
That's awesome. Tell me about this group. So like I'm calling it a group because that's probably the easiest way. Like you're starting to build a tribe around Invested and Rested. What kind of stuff do you guys talk about? Is it like for newbie real estate investors? Is it for seasoned veterans? Like what kind of stuff is it about?
Yeah, new and has some experience. So there's a lot of mindset that we talk about. And then we really dive into your health as well. So Caitlin, my business partner, she's a health coach. And while it's more real estate related than it is health, we just see so many people, women specifically, like just the reason why people want to get into real estate is so that because they're burnt out in their job, or because they want to build wealth and have freedom. And then the exact opposite happens. Like you get so far into the real estate that you're burning yourself out in real estate instead. So you're just trading off like apples for oranges. So how can you do this and keeping your long-term goals in mind without losing your health? And like I did the same thing. And like, then I got health issues, and we all know somebody that has health issues, they have one goal: to be healthy, right? So why does it matter if you invest in real estate if you don't have your health?
Yeah, that's super awesome. And you've started building a brand like literally around how we can be all of these things, but also still have our sanity and not be burnt out.
Yeah. What's the point if you're feeling insane? Like we all know it's not fun to be overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's can you actually tell me like when you realized you needed to start that? Like it sounds like you had a health issue, but was there some other signs that you were like, or was it that it was happening, or it was just like, nope, you went in, took a test or something, and a doctor said, hey, this is what's happening?
Yeah.
Was that the kick?
Unfortunately, there were a lot of kicks. Like there was something in 2019, and that's kind of when it was like, I had some investment properties, but I was like in my very beginning of like, let's just go and let's grind kind of phase. And I went to the doctor and I found out that I had a fibroid, which is a non-cancerous tumor. And it was about the size of a grapefruit. So I'm like, all of a sudden this thing is growing inside of me, and I had absolutely no idea. So I had to go in for surgery, and you think that would have been like a kick in the ass enough, and it just wasn't. So I continued to work on top of my 9 to 5 so that eventually I could leave that. And I did have a lot of other kicks in place, but eventually I was like, this isn't sustainable. There wasn't really an aha moment. It was just kind of like I think I'm getting sick of this lifestyle. Let's go ahead and switch some things up here. And I should have done this a really long time ago.
I think this is honestly, this is like the best conversation that I didn't know I was going to be having today,
Yeah.
because you
You didn't
think
even
about
know
this
this.
like I no, totally. I think this is interesting though, because I talk to people about this constantly. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding. The amount of conversations this month that I've had, and it's only the 17th of October,
Hmm.
about people saying, well, I don't know, maybe I should just go get a job. And the amount of time, like, because truly, like, business ownership is really hard. There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on. And especially when I feel like you're a young business owner trying to, like, show that you can do it, show yourself you can do it, show somebody else you can do it, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. You're still trying to strive for something, and you just don't know yet that it's okay to put things down. It's okay to walk away from things. It's okay to have a life and not should yourself all night long, like, oh gosh, I should be back on the computer,
Yep.
or I should be doing this, or whatever the heck that is. So I find it to be really, really interesting to hear something like this, because I don't know, the amount of times that I'm just like, yeah, maybe we should all just go get jobs. But we would have the same problem, because we're all go getters in some way, that we would want
Hmm.
to have just like this normal, like, I just want a cashier job. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
But that's not the kind of person I am. Like, I'm going to be a cashier, and then 2 months
You'd be
later,
so
I'm going to be
bored.
the manager of the store.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're gonna be working all of the hours, doing all of the same exact
Same
things.
thing.
It's like
Same
you
thing.
might as well be doing that for yourself instead of for somebody else.
Yeah, but so it's, I mean, but you're preaching something is about like teaching people how to set some kind of boundary and things like
Hmm.
that, because that's what's important. So are there a couple of things that you like literally are starting to preach or teach about, like, is it boundaries, is it mindset about shooting too much of yourself, or like what kinds of stuff do you guys talk about a lot?
Yeah, well, first, I like to get down to people's actual goals and actual why, which I feel like is starting to sound a little cringy because I feel like that's a little bit overused. But I mean, at the end of the day, like maybe I spoke with somebody last week, a friend of mine, she really wants to get into real estate, but her why is basically FOMO. Like
Oh.
she has a fantastic job. She likes her job. She doesn't plan on leaving and she has a full schedule of hobbies outside of her job and doesn't want to put anything towards real estate. It's like awesome, but that just like it's not your time. Then it just doesn't make sense. Like and that's that's okay. But if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you hate your job, you are not a high income earner, that's where I was at. Like then it we can put this plan in place for you to get out of your job so you can do real estate more. Or is it that you just want one Airbnb on the side and it's kind of like a lifestyle thing? You have this cabin that you get to go to quarterly and rent out and it pays for itself or something
Mhm.
like that. So everybody's situation and everybody's goals and wants are going to be a little bit different. So we really talk about like tailoring it to you. And then from there, you can go back to that drawing board of like when you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to invest in real estate. Like, does it make sense? No, it doesn't make sense right now. Or maybe this specific type of real estate doesn't make sense. Like, that's okay. Then you have something that you can always root down and go back to, which is your actual higher like wants and needs.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a really good point, because man, if I found out somebody it was just because of FOMO that they wanted to be in real estate, I'd be like, oh my god, run the other way. It
Yeah.
is it is definitely hard work. It's not for the faint of heart. Like, there's really high ups, but there are really low lows.
Hmm.
Like, it is and I think business ownership in general, that's what it is. Like,
Totally.
you have to be able to take some risk. You have to be able to hustle and grind and do all these stupid buzzwords.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's totally
exactly.
true. I mean, we're not, you're no longer off. Like, I just, I take a vacation, and yeah, that's really neat, but it doesn't mean I'm not working on every single vacation I'm
Oh my
ever
gosh,
on now. Like, you
totally.
don't get to check out anymore.
Yeah, I just went to Zion and then I got to the top of Angel's Landing at like 7:30 in the morning local time and then here it was like 9:30 and I was like, "Oh, I have some people. I'm a realtor as well." So I had some clients that were closing. So I'd be like, "Hey, just checking in. How was it? Whatever." And then they had an issue come up and then all of a sudden I lose service and I'm like, "Who has a phone that I can use and contact them?" And like I had some systems in place, but I'm still like just I'm hands-on. I need to check
Yeah,
in.
you're so yeah, no, that's like I talk about hosting, because I do a lot of short-term
Mhm.
rentals, and it's the same. Like, it's still like I'm still a hospitable host. Like, I'm not all of a sudden going to
Mhm.
stop like being that. Hopefully, like I know that if I'm doing a certain thing, like exactly what you're talking about. Like one time I remember whale watching. I was just like, hey, like I don't think we're going to have service on the ocean in
Yeah.
Hawaii while I'm whale watching. So I need to make sure that these hours are covered because I
Mm-hmm.
just in case a guest is checking in or whatever it is. So
Yep.
it's kind of funny. Like but it's true. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. Like, if you just have FOMO from being in real estate, yeah, don't open a business
Mm-mm.
because
Not gonna
your like
work.
hobbies now are just around your business, and it doesn't mean like you have to be obsessed with your business in that way. But for success to happen, like, I mean, being obsessed with something is kind of the way that people like
Helpful.
reach that top. Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
you want to reach the top, you got to be
Mm.
obsessed with whatever that thing is, because
Yeah.
your hobbies now include networking for clients. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, that's what you do on vacation. Like, I took a vacation the other day, or a couple weeks ago, and it was the first vacation that had nothing to do with real estate in probably a couple of years. Like, nothing to do with real estate.
Amazing.
And that stuff is like, I mean, this is just kind of reality, is how when you build a business, this is what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
uh,
And I think even when you're going to make it more passive and hands off, there's still going to be some upfront work that needs to be done. So I actually offloaded I was managing 5 Airbnbs and just offloaded 4 of them, made them back into long-term rentals. And honestly, it's fantastic for me and like for my long-term goals. And I did a podcast all about it too. But my mom is actually going to be renting out her place in Minnesota while she's a snowbird. And I was originally going to manage it for her. I'm like, no problem. I don't think it's going to be that much. What's one more? And then now that I just went down to 1 from 5, I'm like, I'm really enjoying this lifestyle here. So now I contacted a manager who's going to co-host and take care of absolutely everything. And so now we're in the process of, and I'm still like helping my mom and, because I understand the lingo, I understand what needs to get done and helping like with the guidance of that. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be so much more fun and hands off. But again, there's still this like, we need to make sure we have the right lock and all the bedding and this list of things and still get
some
everything on board.
standards. There's still some standards in place, but then you can at least walk away, and you just have to manage the manager.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to know, like, no matter what, even if you have a real estate, even if you have a property manager, no matter what kind of real estate it is, you still have to manage the manager, because
Yes.
in the end, your name is on the deed, or your name is on the tax document, or your name
Still
is
your
with the
asset.
IRS.
Yes.
So if you do something wrong, they're still gonna know, and it's you, not them.
Right.
uh,
100%.
no, that's totally cool. That's I think that's a really, really good message to be preaching these days, because it is, we get into all these things and we just didn't know. I don't feel like I knew what I was getting into in lots of ways, and I mean, that's for the best, because we
Yeah.
wouldn't do a lot of
Yeah.
things if we knew what was going to happen, but that's the whole reason they happen, is so we can have a certain set of experiences that then we can make different decisions, 5 years later or whatever it is.
Totally.
But
And I
but
feel
yeah,
like
the health pieces.
that's why I feel like it's a fun spot for like where you and I are at of like we have some real estate where we're very much like working in it and our long-term goals are a little bit different than like where we're at with things right now. So it's like you have enough to be able to get to where you are. Like you don't work your job anymore. I know you wanted to leave, same with me. But now I'm like I'm a little bit more particular about how we're going to get to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. How you spend your time is it matters, and what kind of busy work you saddle yourself with within
Yes.
the goals that you have,
Well said.
or if you decide they're good enough. Like, that's kind of something I've been reading about a lot lately. Is just like the busy work that we do, and that we assume that we need to do. But it's funny, because if I don't do something for 6 months, I'm still running my business the
Hmm.
same as I was 6 months ago, like without that one piece being done. So I
Yeah.
think also not getting carried away in a version of FOMO. Actually, it's a really good way that you put it earlier, is because, I mean, even in a short term rental world, like, everybody's direct book, direct book, direct book. And I
Hmm.
understand why, because you're putting all your eggs in somebody else's basket, and you don't necessarily want to do that with Airbnb. Like, you want to have a way to do that. But some people have to build out this big, huge thing, and then like, we have a direct booking site. It wasn't a big, huge deal to, onboard it and do all that stuff. But we maybe get 10% of our bookings from direct book. And it's, that might be high. It might only be 5%. So you think about all these things that you feel like you have to do. Like I have to do social media for my short-term rentals, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. And actually you can pick what you want to do. You don't have to do all of it. It's not that big of a deal. You're not
Yeah.
behind. You're exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
Right. And like realistically, unless you have this like conglomerate business, you're not going to do all those things. Like you're going to pick a couple of avenues. Maybe you're going to do a little trial and error here, or like you set boundaries of like, okay, once a year we're going to try three new things like just for fun, or it's like X amount of money and time goes towards like just because I'm curious and I need to kill the cat. But like don't let
Yeah.
that take over your entire life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I love knowing that there's people out there preaching some of this stuff, because I think you get into different stages within real estate or owning a business. Is like, it's the, oh my God, I got to do everything. And then now you're right, we're in a really great stage where it's like, actually, I don't. It's delightful. I don't have to do shit if I
Hmm.
don't want to.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's the
I
best
always notice
part.
that when I go on vacation, I'm like, why is it every single day I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get this done right now. And then I go on a trip for a week and I'm like, oh yeah, I just have a couple things I gotta do. And I'm like, how does that
Yeah,
switch back and forth so fast? Oh,
I know.
okay, sounds good. There's some lessons to be learned here.
And how do we switch it? How do we switch the switch when we're not on vacation? That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of this.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought of this morning. I'm just like, okay, how do I make this that I only work a couple hours a day and I don't feel bad the
Yes.
other hours of the day? I think
Yeah.
I really think, like, I've told a lot of people that if fretting was a job, I am a pro at that job, because I think in my
What's
head I
spreading?
fret. I
Oh,
like
fret.
I fret. Yes, okay. Now
Yeah.
you heard it. Okay.
Yeah.
I sit and fret about the things that I need to do or that I should do,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just thinking, I did the stuff I needed to do today. The business is still going. Just walk away, go hiking. It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
truly like have been thinking about this a lot in the last week, that I'm like, how do I figure that out? Like, what therapist can help me with this kind of thing? Because fretting doesn't
Yeah.
count.
Because that to-do list is always there and it's up to you to turn
Yeah.
it off.
Yeah, it totally is. And it's harder for some people than it is for others. Or,
Hmm.
we just fill it with more stuff. Just fill
Yeah.
it with other business stuff. I'm just like, oh, maybe I should start this. I'm like, no, stop starting things.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, let them
just do the few
be, let
things you
them
actually like.
ride. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Totally cool. Okay, so tell me, so it sounds like you don't have a corporate job anymore. You
Correct.
sell real estate and then you invest in real estate. Those are the things that, bring you
Yep.
joy and money, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so as you've been building this, like, have you encountered any self-limiting beliefs, along the way?
Oh, I mean, I am human and I have so many self-limiting beliefs, just like everybody else. My biggest one that I want to work on right now is that like I have to do everything myself. I'm in the process of hiring a VA, which is like so terrifying for me to give up control, give up passwords. Yes, I understand there's going to be like processes and stuff in place with this, but I think that that is going to be a huge key player into what you just talked about of like having that balance throughout the day and not just consuming myself with busy work. Like I have things right now that need to be done that are not that difficult, that can be done by somebody else, but I'm like, oh, I could just do it. I can just do it. And I come from a property management background, and I don't know if this was like this at all for you in your industry too, but it's like people really thrived off of like being able to do everything themselves. You were really
Oh,
great if you
pride.
overwhelmed
So much
yourself.
pride. Yep.
Yes.
If you
Like
can do all the things, you're proud of, like, no, I just do all of it. It's
I'm just
not a big
worn
deal.
out. It's like a badge of honor. This is not a
Ugh.
badge that I wish to wear anymore. And so switching that mindset piece for me, that is the biggest thing that I am working on right now.
I think that's awesome. Like, how are you working on it? Like, what does that process look like, truly? Do you know yet? I know, like, you are working on it, but
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now. So if when people are listening to this, I'm still going to be in the thick of it. So if you have any advice for me, please reach out. Or if you're looking to and you want somebody to chat with, I'm happy to chat about like what I'm learning in real time with everything. But it's reaching out for help is number one. So I have a friend, her name is Becca Peachy Innovations, I want to say is her company, and she helps people organize their life, and then also help onboard VAs and just streamline and systematize things a little bit. So I had a call with her to just start this process of, okay, first I need to be more organized in my communication and exactly what I need and like how can I communicate with this VA. So that's number one, was just reaching out for help. And then number two was I just put a job listing out on onlinejobs.ph, I think is what
Yep.
it was,
Yeah.
and got really clear on what I want and what I need help with. Another limiting belief is that I'm going to run out of work for them, but somehow I don't run out of work for myself. So I know that that's not going to happen. But just trying to put like, okay, what repetitive tasks do I have that I can do when I'm going throughout my day, trying to keep that top of mind of, okay, what don't I want to do anymore? And what is repetitive? What can I start with teaching somebody else? And then working with Becca too helped a lot with what, and don't ask me which ones because I can't remember, but like there's a couple websites that you can give them like SOPs and it will spit stuff back out to you. So like that communication can be streamlined a little bit more with them too.
That's totally cool. Okay. So putting things into place to like help that limiting belief and just, yeah. So you're pretty much just doing it anyways. Even though you
Yeah.
have a limiting belief, you're
Oh
doing it
yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. Messy action. It's like number one, identifying. Number two, just do it anyway. Like we all have fear, but the longer that you're going to sit in that fear and not do anything, guess what? You're going to still sit with it. And it's still going to be annoying and it's still going to be that ruminating thought. You're going to be fretting, right?
Fretting, so much fretting.
I don't like to sit like that. Like I feel better when I'm doing something about it. That doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean I don't procrastinate. People who know me closest know that I do, but I still try to take messy action.
Okay. That's awesome. I think that's a really good way to put it, is just take the messy action and be done. Just get it off your plate.
Yeah, the other people that are taking action, they don't know what they're doing. They're trying things for the first time too, or maybe it's their 100th, but at some point they were just doing it for their first time too. So you just got to do it.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to say it. Tell me what you think your biggest win has been. It can be personal, it can be business, it doesn't.
Okay, this is really broad and I want to try to think of something else. I was going to say it's just taking messy action. Like I am trying to just do it anyway with those limiting beliefs and listening to myself. I'm just spitting things out as they come out of my head. And then yeah, listening to myself or people that are actually doing it instead of those that are just sitting on the sidelines that have more fear than you even do about it. Like I bought my first house when I was 24 years old. I have some family around here, but otherwise my family is from a couple hours away. I don't have somebody that's going to come like fix my furnace for me or fix different things for me. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, I think this is a really good idea. I'm gonna do this. And then the next year is like, well, this worked out really well. I'm gonna buy a rental property. And I mean, there's so many people that thought I was absolutely insane and still think that I'm insane. But okay, this also sounds really cheesy, but like life is a journey. I don't want to sit on my deathbed someday and be like, I'm so glad I watched all the seasons of Prison Break and all the things which I am watching right now. I want to be happy that I like tried all of these things. If I fail, whatever, life moves on too. But at least I tried. At least I had fun. I learned some things too, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. I completely agree. Well, then this makes me think like how would you answer like, well, what's your biggest miss then?
My biggest what? Miss?
Miss. So I don't like to say failure because I don't think we fail in any
Mm,
way, shape, or form. We learn. So what's been a really big miss?
not working smarter sooner.
Oh,
I wish that I had hired people that I had asked for help sooner. I didn't. I thought that I should do everything myself. Obviously, I'm still working through that as I'm working on hiring a VA. It's a journey. But like, I wish I hired a real estate coach. I wish I asked people if they would mentor me. I wish I would have asked people if they would have just went and grabbed coffee with me. I did a little bit of networking, but I think the networking groups in Minnesota have really grown. a lot, which is absolutely amazing. There's just so many different groups that you can be a part of now. Before, I tried to go to a couple and even the organizer didn't show up, and there was just like one other person that would come. And I just kind of kept hitting these roadblocks when it came to that. And I should have just been like, all right, well, you know what? That's too bad, but at least I got to meet one other person and like can still consider that a win. And then try to go to an event the next month, or maybe just freaking start one too, you know? So I didn't really reach out to a network of people or ask for help.
That's awesome. I think those are really, really, really good lessons, actually, because I think of that too. I never regret it. I never regret going to a network event because I
Yeah.
always meet at least one person, and I don't ever regret asking for help.
Right.
Just like, I just need help. Please, somebody just take this off my plate.
Yeah. And if
Oh,
somebody says no, it's like, well, you are asking for help. They have every right to be like, hey, I'm too busy, or like, I can't prioritize that right now. Or, hey, maybe actually I do this as a business and I'm charging for my service. Like, it took you 2 seconds to write an email or to make the phone call or whatever it was. The worst somebody is going to say is no.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome and so right on.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you think your superpower is?
Hmm. Just trying to power through and I shouldn't say power through. Just trying to do things anyway, even with the fear. Like
Hmm.
I didn't necessarily mean to get into so many different types of real estate. Like everything kind of just happened one thing at a time.
Hmm.
But it was so scary buying my first rental at 24. It was terrifying buying the next one and then starting in short-term rentals and then a midterm rental and then into commercial real estate. Like I love to learn. I understand that maybe this isn't hasn't been like the most like organized, continue on your system of just doing the same thing, but this is way more fun for me than like, oh yeah, I bought a single family. Now I bought another single family and this, which is kind of what it had started out with. So I love to learn. I love to meet people and love to keep growing.
That's awesome. I love that. Like I guess I kind of want to know how did you so your business so you live in Minnesota, your business partner in invested and rested is in California. How
Mm-hmm.
did that conversation even happen? Like how like you guys started a podcast. Like how did that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, so we actually met at a real estate retreat and we bonded over food intolerances in the breakfast line because we were both in line and she's like, crap, I can't eat anything. I'm like, oh, I can't eat anything either. And I was so nervous to go to this event because I do have specific food intolerances that I can't eat. So it's just like hard to be in settings when I don't have any control over the food. So that is originally how we met. We were both coaches for this mastermind as well, but we both didn't have a coach within the mastermind. So we decided to coach each other. From there, we went to another event maybe like 6 months later or so. And we both realized like we have a greater vision for what we want in the coaching space, or we both really wanted to host retreats before on our own, but didn't really want to do them by ourselves. Or we have really specific things we want about the food and incorporating the wellness and not having this message of like grind and kill yourself over real estate. Like, let's make this more of a lifestyle thing for you. And so we've had all these similar values. And from there, we're like, this just makes sense. Like, let's do our own thing. This is going to be really scary. We could just go work for somebody else, but we're so specific and we were so aligned on that messaging that we had together that we're like, if we don't do this, we're going to regret it and we're going to continue to have that like ruminating in the back that we should have just done our own thing. So, let's just go for it.
That's awesome. I think that's really, really fun. And so far it's been pretty good, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, it's been amazing. If you would have told me a couple of years ago that I was going to be doing this, I would have told you absolutely no way. That somebody I'm going to meet at a networking event or a retreat is I'm going to start a business with them. We're going to have a bank account together. We are going to, have an operating agreement. I would have been like, no, I'm not going to do that with a total stranger. Are you kidding? But you really get to know people over time. And then also having that same vision and alignment is absolutely huge.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love thinking about that too, of like the message that if I ever wanted to tell my younger self anything, I wouldn't want to tell her anything. So be like, nah, you're gonna have to fucking get through it.
Yeah.
But some of this stuff is like, it's very surprising. If you would have told me 15 years ago that I'd have a business and a podcast, I'd be like, what's a podcast? And what are you talking about? How on earth could I do a business? I'm not going to school for business and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I love that. I love that you kind of have the similar, like, oh, geez, this is different
Yeah.
than I would have expected. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the magic of life and of, building a tribe and finding the people in your tribe to be like, oh, this is so cool. Like this feels fun. Let's do this now.
Yeah, some of it actually does make sense. It's great. Oh, and you should have seen me the first time to sit down for a podcast. I was absolutely terrified. I was like, my energy was so off. I was shaking, was freaking out, sweating. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, what questions did you have? And you're like, oh, we're just going to chat. I'm like, okay, sounds good. We won't prepare anything. And it's totally fine. And it's fun.
I love that. And because I've recorded with you a couple of times now,
Mhm.
and that's super surprising to me because to me this is just a chat.
Yeah.
And I love that, you've gotten over that because you've done a
Mhm.
great job now. Like you have a podcast that releases every week that like, you do the things. Like that's awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, can you tell the people that are listening what your podcast is if they wanted to check it out?
Yeah, for sure. It's Invested and Rested. We're on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, etc. And we've done women only and like experts in the field. So and experts in many different spaces, in short-term rentals, in mindset, etc. We're actually going to be switching up the topic a little bit to do live coaching calls similar to like Ramit Sethi or Esther Perel, where you're going to have like an inside view of somebody and what their roadblocks are and how we're going to work past that. So that is going to be season 2 dropping early next year. We have a couple of the spots filled, but if somebody is looking, sorry, we're just going to drop this now. If anybody wants to be on the podcast and wants to do a free live coaching call and get some advice, whether you like haven't touched real estate, but you really want to, or you own a few properties and you're at a roadblock and not sure what to do next.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally have people that I can connect you with because that's a good one to do.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you also talk about, it sounds like you guys are starting to do retreats. Tell me
Mhm.
more. Like what are they going to be like? Where are they going to be? When are they going to be?
Yeah, so I'm super excited about the retreats. We actually just released all the information last night. So we are going to have one in Minnesota. It's going to be near Winona. That's just where we found an Airbnb that we really like. It also has a hot tub. I don't quote me on the name or on the time. I mean, you'll have to just go to our website,
Mhm.
investandrested.com. I want to say March 27th through the 30th. So that's why we're like, oh, let's get a nice place with a hot tub that has plenty of space for everyone, that feels really cozy, intimate. It's going to be max 14 people. And we're really going to work on every person individually and do masterminds around how can we help you get to the next level. Maybe that means that you want to be this huge real estate conglomerate and have all of these properties. Maybe you want 3 and have this be like a lifestyle thing on the side of your 9 to 5, whatever it is. Like we're going to work on each of those individually. We're not going to have speakers. This isn't going to be a huge seminar things. This is going to be very intimate. And then we'll also have some wellness things. So we'll have yoga, we'll have breath work. We're going to have really yummy and healthy food. And then we have another one in Northern California, May 1st through the 4th. Again, just
Sometime in
verify. Yeah, sometime in the beginning of May. But yeah, and we are offering $200 off until the end of the year
Cool.
on
That's
prices.
awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to link that in the show notes because I think that's super fun. And anybody that knows anything about Tanya Rooney is that I am such a big cheerleader for retreats. Like, we're going to
Mhm.
do some retreat. We're going to do a tribe builder retreat next year, probably up to 4 of them. And same
Nice.
thing. It's just about getting people in the room to say, like, there are other people that can help you through things. There are other people like, that like you're not alone. We all have the same problems. I think anytime
Mhm.
that I do coaching, I talk to people and they're just so surprised when I say, yeah, that happened to me too. Like,
Yeah.
because they don't, when you're in a business, you're really only sharing with your family, and your family doesn't know how to run a
They
business,
think you're
or they
nuts.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
I
But
don't know why you do that.
if you branch out to people that are already doing that, it's actually just fine. People go
Mm-hmm.
through this stuff all the time. So showing people that this is why I preach people need to build a tribe, is you find people around you and you realize, oh my God, I'm burnt out. How can I like
Mm-hmm.
deal with being burnt out? Or, oh my God, I'm sick of listening to guests, complain about this one thing or
Yeah.
do this thing, or, it's really hard to buy a property right now or find money for a property or whatever it is. Everybody's going through this. Like these are all normal things in business. And if you just surround yourself with other people that are kind of in those lanes, you'd be surprised at how much better you feel about the crazy path that you've decided to take, and that
Yes.
it's okay to keep going. And I know you were talking about finding your why, or like, because that is a really cliche thing, but it's super important when you're building a business, especially in real estate. And a lot of people say you need your why because on your down days your why has to be strong enough to get you through your down days. And my rebuttal to that is actually, yes, you need to know your why, but you need a tribe. You need a tribe of people that are going to help you get through your down days, because they understand the first time you get a 3-star review in short-term rental land, or the first time a contractor runs away with some of your money, whether it's $1,000 or $20,000, it sucks both fucking
Yeah.
times. But if you have other people that are in different stages of real estate, showing them what's happening and then also hearing about what's happened to them, just makes it so much easier. Like, God, when you feel like, am I seriously the only person that this is happening to? When you get past that thought, is that you're the only person that's happening to, the world just opens up in a different way. That it's like, oh, I could get support. Like, am I the only one? Like, you're right about the health thing. The people that, like, health things come up and then you're like, shit, this is the only thing that matters now. I actually don't care about a running toilet. I don't care about a broken blind. I care about nothing except for how do I get the best food into my body to ensure that I don't get sick again, or that I don't like, or that I can make this sickness go away. It's like the most terrifying thing. So I think marrying these things together is a really, really smart, it's a smart business plan, because it's smart human function.
Yeah. Yeah. And a couple things I want to say from what you said is like, yes, the why is so cliche, but everybody, including myself, was so excited to get into real estate that you're like moving 1,000 miles per minute and you don't actually slow down to like dive deep into what that is. And then the how piece of that, which is where the tribe comes in handy, when you know that you're not alone in this, because you feel so alone at first. Like your significant other, they might not be on board at first and understand what you're doing. Your family, your friends, nobody else understands what you're doing. You need people in your corner that are going to get it.
Mhm.
There's something else
It's
too. I forgot.
it's
I don't
okay.
remember. Cut that out.
Okay, so tell me, like, is there anything cool about the community you've started building that, like, that something's come up, like a deal has come out of your community, money has come out of your community, anything, like some cool connection that you wouldn't have had if you didn't start building and networking the way you have been?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I feel like it happens all the time of yeah, the people I just think about the people that I've met too that I can help people connect with. Like you, I would have never I met you at a meetup and then I slid into your DMs. And I know people that have private money. I know people that want to use other people's money. There's people that are doing deals together. Like it's all these things, they come up just in like a tiny little conversation. I feel like very casually that it wouldn't happen unless you had other people in your corner. And it just snowballs from like one person to the next, like, oh yeah, I know Tanya and Tanya is looking for a multifamily. And then I'm like, okay, yep, sounds good. Like hardly even touching on it, right? And then this other little ping will happen over here when I'm having a conversation with somebody else. And how it just continues to snowball is just so much fun.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think that's one of my favorite parts about real estate too, is like the synchronicities are like, oh, you're looking for a coach for this, this, and this. Well, geez, I know this coach that does this, this,
Hmm.
and this. Let's connect you to. Like, it's really
Yeah.
fun to be able to do
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
And then I think the other two pieces of that as well is like helping, or one piece, but there's a couple of like a family member and then one of my best friends that I think, I mean, we all have limiting beliefs, but think that like, oh, it's not for me. I can't do it. And I could really see some of those limiting beliefs come out, obviously, as being very close to these people. And now watching them do it, I'm like, this is so exciting. I love being like the cheerleader and being involved and there to help. It's amazing to see people like live life to their fullest and to see what they're
Mhm.
really capable of.
I love that too. I actually have an example of that happening this week.
Yeah,
I
let's hear it.
remember this gal from like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Well, it's like she's a friend from the gym. I remember meeting her, like I said, probably 8 years ago. She does hair for a living. She's a stylist, a hairstylist. I don't know what those are called anymore now. Like you don't call them hairdressers anymore, but whatever.
I don't know.
I know. I remember the first time I got my hair done by her, and she was at a salon in Maple Grove, and I'm just like, so what do you want to do next? Like, she's like, I just want to cut hair, and I'm like, so you want to get like your salon manager license and like run a salon or anything like that? No, I just want to cut hair. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I think that sounds terrible. Why would I do that? I have such a cool life. Yada yada yada. Fast forward a couple of years. She got her salon license and like had a chair in one of those rented places with all kinds of suites. She loved it. She got to name it. Everything's so cool. And then fast forward another couple of years and she's got her own building. She doesn't own the real estate. She rents the real estate, but she's got like her and one other person. That's it. That's the whole building.
Cool.
And now, fast forward to this week, she just announced that she's opening her own. She's renting a space, and she's like, so she'll rent the entire space, and then she's renting the studios. There's 3 studios, and then she'll have her and her chair and a couple people that work for her, and
Hmm.
then she'll rent these studios because that's a thing that's been happening lately. Is like now you don't necessarily just go to a hair salon or a salon. You would go to a salon that has a salon, and then maybe there's a nail salon, that has a door over there, and then maybe an esthetician over there, and then maybe a
Yeah.
waxing station, like all of these different things. So she's like, I want to create community within, what we do because we're so solo and we're like, you're off on your own
Hmm.
island. So she's our like the oh my god, like 8 years of watching this happen. And now, like, I even pointed out to her this week, I'm like, oh my god, Kelsey, I totally know. I remember the day you had told me, God, no, I don't want a salon license. And now she's like,
Yeah.
yes, please. I want the like now she's literally building an entire brand around this thing where people can rent from her and then be in the same space and have some synchronicities and just like how cool it is to watch people's like journeys and be a
Mhm.
cheerleader to be like, you totally weren't ready for it 8 years ago, but damn, you're ready for it now. And she's just going to take over the world in ways that just make me so delighted. And you're right. It's like the most fun thing to be able to cheerlead those people. Just be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I knew you had so much potential.
Yes, it's like I can see you just like lighting up about it. You're like, oh my gosh, and this person they did it, they did it. And that's exactly how I feel too. It's just like it's so
So
much fun
fun.
to watch other people win and help them get there in any way you can. It's just incredible. There's no feeling like that.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I think that just kind of means, you're a coach at heart at some kind, or like, if I could just like, how do I like, my business card could just say Tanya Rooney, comma cheerleader,
Yes,
encourager.
not on the
I
BC,
just want to be
but
an
in a different
encourager.
way.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. So, can you tell me as we wrap up, is there anything you're looking for? A person, a connection to someone, you looking for a deal? Like, what you got going on right now that you might need some help with?
Great question. I was going to prep this and I kind of forgot, but I think going back to the hiring a VA, if anybody has any advice on that or any helpful lessons, anything that really comes up when I say that, like please send me a message and I would love to hear it. And whether it doesn't work out with, the person that I hire, like I'm going to continue on this journey and we're gonna make something happen here. So, and then if you are interested too in any retreats, course, anything like that, have a lot of stuff coming up too.
That's awesome. And people can find you at investedandrested.com as
Yeah.
well as invested and rested, no spaces on Instagram.
Correct.
So if somebody wanted to give you some advice on, finding a VA, they would just slide into DMs at invested and rested. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. That'd be great.
Awesome. I will link all that stuff in the show notes for sure so people can find you because I think the stuff that's starting to come out of their account is really, really good. So people should start following you because it's
You.
awesome. And yeah, I really appreciate the time today. This was fun. It was really good to learn about some of those things. And I'm really happy that you decided that you had enough kicks that you realized, I don't want to be burnt out anymore. Let's figure this
Mm-hmm.
shit out. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So thanks for spending the time with me today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Tanya. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Tribe Builders, for listening. I appreciate it. And we'll talk next week. Thanks. Bye.